Hey guys, how's it going? Robert Syslo here, Director of Production for Grant Cardone TV, and we're here on another episode of Ask the Pro. And this week, I have the main man, the coolest guy on the planet, Ray Abood out of York, Pennsylvania. This guy's hooked up probably with every product that Grant Cardone has, and we're happy to have him in the studio. He's going to share his knowledge and his experience in real estate, investing, wholesaling out of York, Pennsylvania. Ray, thanks for coming, bro.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
How you doing, man? How are things?
Good.
Things good? Love it. So, Ray, dude, Ferraris, little big fish, small pond. Where'd you get started, man? Where'd you get started?
Grew up in York, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Started out starting with college in Pittsburgh. Dropped out of college after 3 years. I didn't want to be there anymore.
You were done. You were like, I don't want to do this.
Well, I just didn't want to have a nose in the books. I wanted to make money. So I dropped out of college 3 years in and went to work for the family business.
Okay.
Which both my parents were entrepreneurs. So I went to the family business and that worked great, but I wanted a lot more than what they could have provided me. So
what you guys were like, how was the family like? What, middle class, upper middle class? You guys were doing okay
Middle
financially?
class.
Okay, middle class.
Middle class.
So what drove the, I guess entrepreneurs have a different way that they want to do things, but what drove you to be like, dude, I'm done with school. I don't want to do this. I need to make money. What was the thing for you?
I always had a problem with school, studying and focusing on, books and trying to do tests. It was always a difficult thing for me. I did it because I was always taught that you had to complete school to be able to get ahead in life. 3 years in, just called it quits and came back home from Pittsburgh to York, Pennsylvania, and got my real estate license, and that's how I started. And while I had my real estate license, I worked in the family business.
So you were what? You were like 24, 25 at this time?
23, 24.
23. Okay, so why real estate? Like what? You went to college. What were you majoring in college?
Marketing.
Marketing. Okay,
Yeah.
Why marketing?
Just not really sure.
Not really
just
sure?
What I did.
Just what people were telling you had to do. You're just kind of like, I think I'll do this.
Professors were telling me I should be in marketing.
But then you found real estate.
I did.
You found real estate and you said, you know what? This is where I want to go. What's that about?
Well, I always had a passion for real estate. Two
Yeah.
passions. I had a passion for real estate and I had a passion for cars. So I got into real estate, and then I bought a lot of cars. So, but real estate, I would always see the elder people that made their money in real estate when I'm at the gym or I'm at a restaurant or anywhere public. I would see the elder real estate people that did it for 20, 30 years. I would see them out and about doing very well. So I thought, why not me? So that's when I got the motivation to kind of do what they're doing, but maybe even do it better.
Got it. Okay, so you were kind of moving around. So when you went out, were you going to like conventions? So you're getting your real estate license, you're studying, but then you're going to these conventions and talking to these people, and you start seeing these guys, and you're like, dude, I want to be like that. That's the guy I want to be. Like how wealthy are we talking about here?
Some of these guys doing very well, and they're all about their volume, and I was all about volume at one time as I was an agent. I eventually evolved into buying and selling and flipping and having a huge rental portfolio, and got away from volume and sales because I learned that the volume and sales really just helped, it helped me, but it also helped the broker, and I wanted to do something more for me, and that's kind of why I started my company, Cash Now.
Okay, so you started off as a real estate agent. This is where you...
Strictly a real estate agent.
Strictly real estate agent. What was that experience like? Because I think, just for the audience, Grant talks a lot about real estate investing, getting involved in that industry. There's a lot of money there. There's a lot of opportunity there. As a real estate agent, what was it like for you, and where did you make the transition into say, hey, you know what? I need to go here and start doing wholesale.
That's a long road. After being the top guy and the new guy being the top guy making sales.
What were you making?
$300,000-400,000 grand a year, but in a
Okay.
small town.
Yeah.
So after doing that, I kind of, again, I felt like I was just continually helping grow the franchise real estate office. So after growing that business, I saved up a lot of money, and then I evolved into having my company Cash Now, which got into flipping real estate, which got into renting real estate. Now, when I say renting, I mean I'm renting my own properties. I consumed in a ton of rental properties. I have 224 units right now. Nothing like Grant's portfolio, but that's my portfolio, and it's all mine. And we managed in-house at my office at Cash Now.
So wholesale, rental properties,
Retail.
So you took you working for someone else, you built your thing, you understood the industry, you figured things out, and then you said, okay, I've got, how much money did you have saved up when you were like, okay, I'm done, I'm going to go do my deal?
That's a funny story, but I had a little over $300,000 saved up.
300 saved.
That's it.
And then you did, okay.
And I was like, you know what? I got to do something with this.
Right.
So that's when I went out and started buying rentals, and I started buying. I bought my first flip, you know, and then from there I just kept building and building. I remember the days when I had 10 rentals and I said, okay, I want 20, and I had 20, and you know, and then I said, okay, now 20's here, I want 50. And then I forgot the units, and I said, okay, I want to get to X amount of dollars a month. So I started out, you know, I said I want to get to 100 grand a month in rental income. I did that, and then I said, okay, and I want to get to 125 grand in income in rent a month, and I did that. So then I kept going, and it just kept building that machine up to I'm just over $2 million in rent a month. I'm sorry,
Wow.
not a month. I'm sorry, a year.
$2 million a year in rental income.
$2 million a year in rental income.
Okay.
But it's all mine. I don't have any partners in that.
It's just you strictly.
Just me.
So you kind of use the principle that Grant talks about, increase your income incrementally.
Yes.
But I want to go back for a second where you first said, okay, I want to buy 10 units. You had $300,000. What was the first move that you did? Because like for someone that knows the real estate industry, but people that might not know and they have money saved, what's that first thing they should be looking for?
Well, I tell you, it's an interesting story because I bought my first 2 unit. I lived in the first unit.
Right.
And I rented the other unit out and I lived for free. I did that for a couple years. That was my first unit. I still own that property to this day.
Got it.
So,
so you bought
a 2 unit.
a 2 unit and lived in the 2 unit and rented out the other unit.
Yep.
Okay. Got
And
it.
that allowed me to save more money again while living for free. And then from there, it just blew up. Once the market crashed, I had a ton of properties. I had a ton of rental properties. Market peaked out. While it was peaking out, I was selling. And then when the market crashed, and I'm sure you had it here in Miami, when the market crashed, it hit bottom. I still had all this money saved up and went back out and I bought all these rental properties again. I was buying houses detached for 10, 12, 15 grand, 18 grand, and I still own those properties till today, collecting $800 a month on each one of those units.
So in the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, you expanded into the market and said, I'm buying this, I'm buying this, I'm buying this, because you played it right. You were smart about it.
I bought like a hog, man. I was out there buying every deal I could. Because no one had any money to buy. I had the money to buy, so I just went out and just soaked up deals like crazy.
Okay, so how much do you think that contributed to where you are right now? In the time when everybody else is like,
it's one part,
Yeah,
but
okay.
you know, I did flips. Like I was going back to the story where I started out with 1 flip, and then I had 2 flips at a time. Then I did 3 flips at a time. I didn't talk about that growing of the sector of the business, but
We'll get to that.
Yeah, so we'll get to that later. But the rentals really helped me generate cash flow every month. But I got to the point where I ran out of money, so then I had to go to the bank. So Grant talks about, borrowing money is not a bad thing. I went out and I went to the local bank and I borrowed some money and leveraged those properties, and then I took that money and I went out and bought a whole bunch more. And that's what I did. I did it over and over until I built the portfolio that I have today.
to all 224 units. So you built that. How many years did it take you to build what you have now?
Actually, I built that portfolio in the down market in 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So now you talked about now flipping. Now Grant's he's not really as much into the flip aspect of it, and I know I can see why, but I also see there's some advantageous things that are associated with it. How does that incorporate into your business? What do you do with that? And for the audience that doesn't know what a flip is, how does it work?
Okay, we do various advertising. We do various, I'm talking from billboard to paper to having you produce stuff for us. Mm-hmm. We do a varied amount of things to actually acquire leads that come in. People constantly calling us to sell their property, whether they're losing the house to tax, sheriff's sale, or they didn't make their mortgage payments. We're getting those phone calls, and usually half the time what happens is we're saving people from that foreclosure, and we're buying out their mortgage and acquiring the property. We then go in and we renovate the property, and then we turn around and resell the property. Usually that time period is a 4 to a 6 month window per flip. That's the average.
It's the average. So why would somebody want to get into that business as opposed to doing multifamily rentals or apartment units or things along that nature?
I think doing both is a great thing, because you have your long-term investment.
You're actually leveraging two different types of business within real estate.
You get your long-term investment, which is the rentals.
Right.
You know, and then you got your short-term investment, which is the flip. So let's say, for example, I'll buy a house, for say 65 grand.
Yeah.
And in our market's a little different than here, so we can buy houses all day long for 65 grand in my area. Buy the house for 65 grand, renovate it for say 20, so I'm in it for 85 grand, pack 5 extra grand on there for utilities, insurance, other miscellaneous expenses, turn around and list that house for $149,900. So you can see that is a pretty good return on the money in a 4 to 6 month window.
So you're in that 4 to 6 months, you're increasing the value of the property.
We're increasing the value of the property because most properties that we buy are in such disrepair that we turn around and we put a plan together to renovate them. And
have you ever like run into problems though? Like have you ever like
every
tried
day.
to flip a house and then
Every day.
It's going to take 4 to 6 months. Then all of a sudden you find out that the city didn't like, there was a septic tank you didn't even know existed and nobody knew about it. Now you got to find and all these things are happening. How does somebody...
I learned the construction side of the business, and I went and did a lot of learning, got state certified. I'm bonded, I'm insured, and I went into the construction business as well.
Got it.
Not the business I want to be in, but I had to learn that business to be able to control what the guys are doing out in the field on my properties.
So for you,
whether it be rentals or sales.
Right. So that's the part of the side I don't think a lot of people talk about is the construction side of it. Do you think that that's where people lose a lot of their money?
They do.
Because they don't know. They don't know that aspect.
That is the biggest problem with flipping.
Oh, I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to put some paint on the walls. I'll put the floors up. No, dude, the foundation's falling out from beneath the house. The roof needs to be, you need to know what's happening.
It's a time-consuming thing, and managing contractors is one of the most difficult tasks we still have to this day. It really is. It's a tough task. But me understanding the process and the role that they have to do, and me having the systems in place to check them, really helps to get the project started, stopped, and on the market. Because the faster I can finish that renovation, the sooner I stop spending money on it.
Got it.
And that's really key when it comes to, renovating a property, is to get it started and get it done as quick as you can with the quality behind it.
The quality behind it, I love that. So what's like the average return for you? Like you pick up a house for $149,000, what would you upsell that after you do renovation?
Most of the deals I do, I try to do 35 grand minimum per house. But I've had houses as high as 100,000 a house. So.
And what's the average? What do you make like net profit off of?
35 would be the minimum.
35 would be the minimum. Okay.
That's the minimum. Average, I'm around 50 grand a house.
Okay.
But you're taking a house that's totally in disarray and totally redoing it and bringing it back to current value with the renovations that are proposed.
Got it.
Got it.
So you've built this business, Cash Now PA. You can check it out, cashnowpa.com. That's all of Ray's content up there. What have you done? What are some successful actions that you've done in the last, I don't know, how you've had the business, 12 years? 10 years?
Just under 20.
20 years. Okay, I was a little off by that, but that's
okay. It's okay.
So just under 20 years you've had this business. For someone who's just starting in this market, in this industry, what kind of pieces of advice would you give them? And what successful actions have you taken to be in business today?
Well, I think first and foremost, when it comes to flipping, the money making is in the purchase. It really is. And it's also in the management of the rehab and having the right tools, to resell it on the backside. So, picking the right team to sell the property or the right realtor, whatever you're deciding to do. When I started out, I was doing 1, 2, 3, 4 flips at a time. I grew it up. Here I am today, and I'm doing 50 flips at a time. Managing my time and managing the projects is a very time-consuming process. So I've hired some people around me to do some of those items, which really helps.
So you had to multiply yourself.
Had to.
At one point, you're just like, okay, I can't do everything. I need to make sure that I have people that can support what I'm doing right now.
How to expand to quality people, and that's again another thing that's hard to find.
How long were you doing it by yourself?
12 years.
You did it for 12 years. So for 12 years,
without any help.
You were the invoice guy, you were the sales guy, you were the
did it all.
construction guy.
I was the rental collecting guy. I was the guy that filed for the evictions.
Yeah.
So now I got teams. I got a rental team in my own office.
Yeah.
I've got a flip team in my own office. And I got a construction team in my own office.
Okay. And you're based only in York, Pennsylvania right now?
York, Pennsylvania.
Primarily.
We do dibble dabble in New Jersey and upstate New York areas. We dibble dabble with those.
Yeah.
And many years ago, I did dibble dabble here in this local market here in Miami Beach. But that was back in 04, 05.
Got it. So what advice, give me 3 things you would tell someone who's in this market, who's in this industry that wants to do what you're doing, whether it's flipping or rental, investing, building passive income off of rental properties. What advice would you give someone that's just getting started, or maybe is at a point where they're like, I don't know what to do right now?
I think, 3 good things would be to really just be selective of what you buy.
And what determines that? How are you selective?
Do your homework. I mean, go online, do some homework, pull the comps, really look at the comps are the comparable properties around it that had sold,
Okay.
and look at the spectrum of what's higher than what you're buying, to see what else it could go to. But really look at the comps, do your homework, make sure you're getting a good buy. That's the first and foremost.
Okay. So
Again,
selective, homework,
and then
comps.
Income's the next thing. I mean,
All
you've
right.
got to make sure it has the right income.
Now, you're talking the house has the right income, or
If
you
it's
have the
talking
right
rentals, got to have the right income on it.
Okay.
And then same thing goes with flips. I mean, flips, when you look at the deal,
What are you going to get out of that? versus
map it
what-
out first.
Right.
Map it out. Purchased, renovation, surprises, retail. Map it out so you really understand where you're headed with it.
Got it. And then the third thing.
Pick a good team around you.
Good team. I like that. That's good. So selective. Do your homework. Look at the comps. Look at the thing. Look at the value differences in the market. Income. What is it going to make you after you do the investment? After you make the purchase? What kind of surprises are you going to see? Is the house going to fall out from under you? That kind of a thing. And then get good people around you.
Absolutely, and call you if you need any help. If they need any help with any
so,
video work.
So talk about that. You've invested in advertising with us and brand awareness, and you're also doing Cardone University.
We are.
As far as a successful action, which is what I was trying to lead into before, how have those 2 things helped your business?
Tremendous. I mean, it's tremendous. First and foremost, the video work that you have provided us, we've got over 20,000 likes already on it and views. We are taking in leads like you wouldn't believe just from the video that you produce. Now, we are putting a product out there for sale at the same time. We're rotating it. Your videos.
But you guys are also doing something very unique, too.
We are, but I mean, we're utilizing the tools that you produce for us,
Right.
and we're putting it out there and putting it to work, and it really does work. And also, we use the Cardone U to help train some of the team. Everyone thinks they know everything,
Right.
but they really don't. If you're willing to learn and listen to someone else's products like we did, heck, I'm even on Cardone U, and I love it. I mean,
great.
and it's really helped my team because I have a guy that's on my team that's a firefighter, never had any sales experience.
This is a great story.
Never had any sales experience, 0. Actually, he works for a nonprofit, and Lee and I helped the nonprofit flip a house. They were always cooking chicken and doing car washes, making a couple bucks. We helped the nonprofit, which was on Fox 43 local. We helped the nonprofit flip their first house, and they're actually settling on their second one this Monday. That's how I kind of got introduced to Brian in there. Brian is one of the volunteer firefighters there. So after that incident took place, I brought Brian in, put him on Cardone U, got him some sales basics, and in the first month working for me, put 5 deals together.
Wow. What was the value of the deal? Of those 5 deals?
I would say he grossed me over 135 grand.
That's incredible.
Absolutely. I haven't looked at the final numbers, but I would say it's right around 135 grand. Could be more.
That's good. That's good. All right, guys. This is Ray Abood. Ray, where can people follow you? Where do you want people to look you up?
Cash Now PA. You can also check me out on Facebook, Raymond Abood. Also, we have a Facebook page, Cash Now. Please check us out. Thank you very much. And Robert, thank you.
Dude, I appreciate that. I
Thank
love
you
that
very
too.
much.
Guys, every week, Grant and I bring you someone, an expert in business, finance, real estate, wholesaling, flipping, someone that's an expert in an industry with the hopes and intention that you can learn something about that industry and you could take tips out of it and use it for your business and what you're trying to accomplish as an entrepreneur. The takeaways that I had today was be selective. Do your homework. If you don't do your homework, you don't know what you're doing. You're going to fall apart. So always go in, with the data, with the knowledge to create something that's not going to fall out from underneath you. Number two, check out the income of investing in rentals and renovations for wholesaling and flipping. Know what the deal is going to get you in the long term. Look at the surprises. Look at what the expense is going to be so you're not surprised. Number three, find great people around you. Number four, learn, expand, advertise, market, promote, train in sales. No matter what industry you're in, you have to train. So with that, Ray, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming out here.
And they should call you.
Call me and Grant. We're going to help you guys out. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. And remember, stay great.